meant to do it.
Thank goodness. I thought I was doing this 1,000 years of digestion alone. How did you fall in?
What? Fell in? Volunteered? More like it. You should have seen it. You would have dug it the most. I was flying around with my jetpack, just smoking rebels with my laser. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Han Solo was all, hey, wait. And I'm like, oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time, Solo. Ba-bang! The big bad Wookiee be growling in hell now. I even put one between Skywalker's eyes, right between those pretty baby blues. But then Jabba the Hutt was all, oh no, this guy's too badass, man. So then 80 Jedi showed up. I took out about 67 of them, but then 20 dudes finally flanked me. And I was like, you know what, kids? It's been real, Daddy-O, but I'm not giving you the pleasure. So I jumped into the pit myself. On the way down, I was thinking maybe I should have left them a party favor. Oh, I did. A thermal detonator right up their ass. Ba-boom!
Oh, that's awesome. Man, at least you didn't go out like a punk.
Yeah. Oh, because I looked like a badass.
Are you crying?
Oh. Huh? That's funny. I'm okay.
Grief Karga said you were coming.
What else did he say?
He said you were the best in the parsec. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
You are a Mandalorian. Your ancestors rode the great mythosaur.
Your name will be legendary.
I don't know if you heard, but the Empire is gone.
We have you 4-1.
I like those odds.
You are still muted, Travis.
Hello and welcome to Mandalorian Minute, a Who Watches podcast about the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Alex Brunel.
I'm Dustin Meadows. I'm Ryan DeVere.
And this week we are discussing Chapter 14, The Tragedy. I am not going to give the specifics about the season and episode of the season anymore. There's too many numbers.
Too many colons.
Yeah.
I support that.
We had probably one of the shortest episodes this week.
Fine.
And yet I feel like it's one of the episodes in which the most happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just nonstop. Balls to the wall.
It was balls to the wall.
It's that reference is not even like what you think it is. It has to do with science experiments, I guess.
Oh. Maybe.
Alex, what did you think of this episode?
I dug it, man, and I gotta say this episode in particular is a tough sell for me because of for how many years I've been a vocal opponent of like the worship of Boba Fett as a really badass character because of all the things that sketch is about. Like he really does not do much. He really does not do much, and I don't know, but this episode, Samwera was such a badass, and Rodriguez killed this. Yeah. This is like the best action work that Rodriguez has done in years. Super, super fun. The action in this episode is outstanding. The stuff that's woven into the action is absolutely incredible. The weaponry used, which we'll get into, was super, super exciting to see. And I have to say, one of the things that sold me on Boba Fett returning to walking, talking, breathing in the Star Wars universe is that he kind of fat now. I'm very into it. I'm very into like the reality of this man and him surviving, and this is just what he looks like, and he's still gonna kill every single one of you.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. So thanks, Star Wars. Good job.
No, I'm sure that was like a big appeal of Jon Favreau when he made this. Is I think he's a big, Boba Fett fan, as you can like tell from like the inspiration with Iron Man and stuff. Right. But I think he was like maybe kind of excited, like, oh, Boba Fett kind of looks like me now.
Yeah.
He's the everyman.
Yeah, it's like Boba Fett, but he did chef.
Yeah.
And it's consistent with where we meet Rex in Rebels. I mean,
that's true.
Rex thickened up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Ryan, just what did you think of this episode?
I mean, my goodness, every episode has just gotten better and better. I'm really excited to see if we can keep this progression. Like, my goodness, I got chills. I mean, we'll get into more of the specifics later, but I'm with you, Alex. I never would have thought that Boba Fett showing back up would have been like something I was really ready to sink my teeth into, and they just killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dustin, your thoughts on Boba Fett have been widely known. What did you think of this episode?
Being in the same camp and having owned a Lego Slave 1 in spite of all my trash talk. This was great. It took 40 years, but they finally made Boba Fett everything he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in the original trilogy, he looks completely badass. He looks great. But then he's just worthless. And this, he shows up and does everything that he should have done the first time we met him. And it's great. Like Alex said, I think they probably knew it was going to be a hard sell, and they really needed to nail it to get everybody to be like, okay, we think Boba Fett's cool now. And they hit a home run. They knocked it out of the park. It's such a great episode, and the fight sequences are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just great from start to finish. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. We start.
The episode wastes no time.
Yeah. Right aboard the Razor Crest, Mando and Grogu, Baby Yoda himself, they're playing a game of Jedi Catch.
They are.
And Mando's getting a real kick out of just saying his name and getting that reaction.
Which is still so good. This is such a precious little scene. Like my brother watches a lot of movies that don't really weigh in on anything. They're just these delightful little films. And this felt like a scene, he watched a movie recently that he won't stop talking about sea shanties and fishermen. That was a delightful little film. This felt like a scene from Mando's delightful little film. Just like this scene in the cockpit. Like, just this, you can feel the connection between the two characters. It's very cute. It's very sincere. It sets up one of what amounts to a gut punch kind of moment later on in the episode. Which was not subtle at all. That later scene I called out as soon as it was happening. I'm like, oh, this is going to happen, and it still worked. Like, it still just works. It's a really nice little scene.
Yeah. He uses the term dank ferric, which they've really been pushing this season.
We're going to get the merchandising on that really soon.
Yeah. It's the only swear word they're allowed to use in this series, apparently.
I don't know why Lurdo hasn't, worded its way throughout the galaxy. Why isn't everyone cursing in Ewokese? A lot of people say poodoo throughout the galaxy.
That's true, especially Sebulba. It's one of his favorites. Like you said, delightful little scene, and then we get the episode title, The Tragedy. And you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Things are too good.
Yeah, and so Mando arrives on Tython with the child and looks around and just places him on the stone there. And just the whole approach, that was great too, because he's like, I can't land anywhere. We got to go there with the windows down. So they fly there with the jetpack.
I was very amused that that's a description, because speeders that I've seen generally don't have windows in Star Wars.
Yeah. No, most of them do not.
When are the windows up? Can you put the windows down in the Razor Crest?
Yeah, but I don't think we've seen any vehicle at all where windows open is an option.
So that's a funny thing.
Yeah, and then like I love the whole approach that he takes when he gets there, and he's like, this looks like the place. I guess I'm just gonna set you here. It felt very real world. It felt like if I was tasked with this same thing, this is exactly how this scene would play out.
Yeah. It almost felt a little bit like what Han Solo might do if he were tasked with the same. He was like, there's a rock that must be the rock.
I know. Yeah, that's the second time I've heard this week the Mando being like kind of compared to the Han Solo everyman cynical audience surrogate, because he also like refers to Ahsoka like as the nice lady who he's like in over his head. He doesn't quite understand, but he's like, I know I got to do this. So he's like scanning around and he's looking for something because he doesn't understand the Force. And then all of a sudden we get friggin' Slave One show up in the background. And then I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that happened fast.
Yeah.
Yep. Part of me was almost half expecting to not get a payoff until either the end of the season or next season, except for the fact that they showed the preview clip from the episode in season 1. So I was like, we might see him.
Right. They did do that.
But yeah, as soon as that came into view, I was just like, and I had to explain to my fiance why it was a big deal.
And like, what an entrance too, because like, I don't know what you guys thought, but I kind of thought he looks up and he sees like Moff Gideon's ship. I thought he was going to look up and see
That's
troops
what
coming
I thought
in.
It was going to be, was like an Imperial cruiser or something.
Yeah, or Dark Troopers, whatever. But then it's like,
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
It doesn't even really warn us. Just like Slave One's on screen all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I had Boba Fett. I really was not expecting to feel something when that showed up. It was like, that's the ship. That I know that ship. That's a recognizable one. That's the ironing board or the iron.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But, whew.
Yeah.
2020, Boba Fett finally giving us the chills he should have been.
Yeah, just like that ship. Like I feel like a lot of this episode was like, I played with that toy so much. I imagine what it could do. Like we've seen Slave One fly before. It didn't even really do a whole lot that we haven't seen it do.
No.
And then we see more of it in Attack of the Clones and even in Clone Wars. But there's just something about it being back as it looked, in Empire Strikes Back. And the fact that it's being used by the guy that it was supposed to be used by, and all the things.
And all this Boba Fett stuff, it never even occurred to me that we might see the Slave One. I just assumed that ship had been like lost or junked like years ago, or eaten by the desert on Tatooine.
Yeah,
Could
that's
you
kind of
imagine
what
all the parking? Yeah, the parking tickets he would have had to pay.
Got to take off the space boot.
Yeah, that's what I'd assumed when we saw Boba Fett at the end of episode 1, because he's just wandering the desert. It's like, oh, okay, so he's sans armor, probably without his ship, just out here wandering around, just an orphan trying to make it.
Just a simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy.
Exactly.
Like his father before him.
Yeah, where they threw in 2 Star Wars lines.
I know.
Yeah.
Really going for it. You can almost hear George just going, it's like poetry.
Do you think he watched it and just gave himself his own standing ovation? He's like, I wrote that.
I hope so.
That's the thing I said in the 80s.
Do we know, does George watch Disney Star Wars? I can't imagine he does, right? Like he's...
I mean, this specifically he does, I think, because Dave Filoni's his boy. He was, there was a story came out with Rosario Dawson talking last week that the famous picture of George cradling the baby Yoda from on set that Jon Favreau posted was actually when he was visiting set doing the Ahsoka episode. So... So
he's, so he's present.
Yeah. No, I think so.
Wow.
So yeah, we get Boba Fett shows up and he starts demanding the armor back.
Makes sense.
And we also get the reveal that Fennec Shan is still alive, which was not really too much of a surprise, especially considering they showed that previously on. It confirmed that, yes, that was Boba Fett who approached her in the desert.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it calls into question so many things, I think. Like you said, he has Slave One, but he doesn't have the armor, and he's been on Tatooine for a while now, trying how did he lose the armor and still keep Slave One? And B, it didn't seem like it would have been that much of a hassle for him to get it from Cobb Vanth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so if the Jawas ended up with it, I think we can safely assume that they didn't take it from him. unless they stole it while he was in the shower or something and not, actually fought him for it.
No. He didn't do so good against the Mudhorn.
No. The way that what I assumed is that if he didn't have the Slave One, I mean, clearly he's just as capable of beating the crap out of a bunch of people without the armor and all the Boba Fett accoutrement as he is without it. So some junker stole it, he wouldn't beat their butt.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, I just thought it was so interesting.
There are a lot of questions.
Yeah, because when we saw him and he's tracking Mando at the end of the first episode this season, I'm like, it's obviously not the armor he's after. He could have gotten that at any time if he knew where it was. But apparently that is what he wanted. And he waited until Mandalorian visited 4 other planets before deciding to go for it.
I mean, I wonder if there is internally. I mean, there must have been already at this point figured out how that story is going to be told. Like somebody's got dibs on the comic book or novel or TV series that tells the story of what happened to Boba Fett in the intervening 5 years. Yeah. Probably, I would say probably comic book or animated thing or novel because just of aging, but. That's a story that someone is writing currently that is due for publication in 2021, I'm certain.
Yeah. For sure. And I could definitely see, maybe by the time he made it to Timio, that was, the first time he had a chance to even, because if it had just been with the Jawas, maybe he didn't know where they were. I mean, how many sand crawlers are on Tatooine? He didn't know where to check or where to look, and then starts hearing stories about somebody out in the desert that has Mandalorian armor. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely somebody's got that story already, and they're salivating.
Yeah. I'm most curious as to how he tracked Mando down, but didn't track him down sooner.
It's a good question too. Did he just know that Mando was in the middle of super important missions that he just should take a back seat to?
The only thing that I was able to kind of guess might have been the case is the Empire was tracking him, so maybe Boba Fett tracked the Empire and then just managed to beat him to the punch, because he gets there literally minutes before they start dropping troopers on the ground.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case, because at the end of the episode, he seems very surprised to see that light cruiser, and he says they're back.
That's a fair point too. So yeah, so that knocks that theory out of the water then. So yeah, I got no clue then.
Yeah. So we'll find that out sometime.
Yeah.
And so so the Empire then arrives, and 2 shuttles land, just unloading a battalion of stormtroopers. And Mando attempts to retrieve Grogu, but is thrown back by a surrounding force field. And then Fett and Shan take care of the Imperial troops in a ground battle.
And this is the second time he's gotten thrown by the force field.
Yeah, he tries to do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Dude is a glutton for punishment.
Which keeps sticking his hand on the stovetop.
I love those parts where he keeps trying to get through the force field because he's just every time he arrives at I literally don't know what else to do. I'm just gonna try harder.
He didn't try the grappling hook. He's got a grappling hook on his arm.
That's true. He
Oh,
could
that's
try the
true.
grappling hook.
I wanted to see. I was waiting for that to come out. I thought that was going to be what worked.
No, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. No, I do like that agree that he kept trying in the same way, because again, that's something I would relate to. Like, you see so many times where somebody tries something once and then they give up. I'm like, no, just do it again. Like say in Revenge of the Sith when Yoda fails to defeat Sidious and he's like, can't do it. We just got to give up.
Guess I'm just gonna go live in a swamp.
Yeah. Now something interesting and I feel like important to this episode happens when he meets Boba Fett and what's her name?
Fennec Shand, yeah.
Fennec Shand. They, their stand down. Part of the stand down is for him to remove the jetpack. And he doesn't use it for the rest of the episode. And like, even coming back to go like get the child, he didn't put it back on or anything. And we've seen earlier in this season, we've seen him control it remotely. Mm-hmm. So I was really waiting for that to just like, I don't know, come back to him, like to have a moment where he just pilots it back to himself.
Yeah,
But
do we know that
see that here.
he has the? Do we know that he has it by the end of the episode?
I have to take a look at the screenshots.
I imagine that he gets it back because I mean, they don't show it being destroyed.
And he wouldn't just leave it anyway.
Yeah.
The scene in question though, where Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are kicking everyone's ass. Holy crap. So Boba Fett's still being armed with the weapons he took from, or probably acquired from the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders. Gaffy stick, and what's the name of that blaster?
It's a cycler rifle, right?
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Both Tusken weapons, and he uses them with such deadly force. It's so good.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing to see finally, like, again, what a gaffy stick could do.
Yeah, we've never gotten to really see those in action.
No, not at all.
We know that they can be hoisted very well.
Great for hoisting.
They're great for celebration.
Yeah. This scene was very reminiscent of the armorer scene in the first season. But just the way that the stormtroopers' armor shatters into
that was beautiful.
Like, it just gives such good tactile feel to what's happening. Like, it feels like these hits are connecting and hard in a way that blaster rifles never quite feel like they do.
No.
All the melee combat feels super brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, we've seen blasters and now a gaffy stick. Just decimate them. Why even have the armor?
Yeah. They would have a lot more mobility if they were just wearing like leotards or something.
Yeah. At this point, short of Beskar, no armor seems worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fart. I lost my train of thought. Oh, Rodriguez's direction in this. There were shots, there were some shots where they almost looked to me, just for a moment, it reminded me of like a high quality Star Wars fan film. Like to see like in broad daylight stormtroopers crawling up the side of like kind of a plainsy hill. And I was just like, it's such a shock at different like terrain than we've seen them in a different way than we've seen them photographed. And it's like not a negative statement, but it's just like it was a really cool what Rodriguez did visually in terms of like really bringing the action cinematography that he's good at. And Travis, I don't know if you noticed this. Did you notice who shot the episode?
Oh no, I didn't.
Dave Klein.
Oh wow.
Kevin Smith's DP.
That's crazy.
Kevin Smith's DP, whose first film was Clerks, is now shooting The Mandalorian, which is totally baffling. And DP Dave did a freaking fantastic job. Like
So no, I did. Yeah, I took note of the fact that it was outside, and I'm like, oh, this is clearly not the volume, and it's kind of cool to have like an actual exterior that they went, on location and shot at.
Yeah.
And I feel like any other time, if we were watching an episode of Star Trek, I'd be like, yeah, this looks like every other Star Trek planet they go to. Yeah, but I didn't get that feeling. So good on them.
A nondescript planet with a shrine. Yeah, that sounds like Star Trek for sure.
Yep.
Speaking of the planet though, for Tython to be such a, we talked about this last week. It's a big deal in the Star Wars universe, in the story of like what we know of Jedi and everything. We really don't get any answers or any texture to this planet at all. It was a set, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm glad that we've gotten to see it, but I guess I was hoping for a little bit more of the mystery of Jedi to be unveiled.
That's fair.
We've seen in Clone Wars and in Rebels, we've seen a lot of the Jedi temples, and I really thought that's where we were going with this, was like a Jedi temple, and we were going to get to go through that again, but live action this time.
Yeah. And
no, it was just a round rock.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised that we even got here this quickly. After he was told where to go in the previous episode, I'm like, we're going to have another little detour. And then no, when it was straight there, I'm like, oh, wow. I was not expecting this until the season finale. So, So I kind of did a little deep dive on the Gaffi stick and found out stuff that I didn't know about it. The Gaffi sticks were inspired by these wooden clubs that were used by soldiers in Fiji called a Tatokia. Which they used. They look identical, like the one end to the Gaffi stick. Also,
it
like
does, right? It's like,
yeah,
it looks like that's just what the prop fabricator on Star Wars just took one of those and put more stick on it and then put it on set.
Just put a lawn dart on the end of it.
They're really, also known as the Pineapple Club, and they're used to literally beat people's heads in. So
they look great for bludgeoning.
Yes. And they're also used as tools to do different things, which again, that's something cool that we saw this season with the Tusken Raiders using a Gaffi stick to clean the Bantha's teeth.
Yeah. A very, very useful tool.
Yeah. So good on you, Tusken Raiders. After he's done with the Gaffi stick, he looks over at the Razor Crest, and he knows what time it is. And so all of a sudden we get Boba Fett just swooping in and coming back in another famous Robot Chicken sketch.
Back from the dead ass.
Yeah.
This is another one of those moments where I got real giddy. Like, as soon as he dropped the thermal detonator, I was like, oh, it's Fett 30. That's what time it is.
30.
And this was so cool too. Like, one of the things I've seen written up more than once is this is the first live action use of Boba Fett's knee darts, which he apparently has and were detailed in a visual dictionary at some point. But we've never seen in action until now, which is pretty cool.
Were they used in any other medium?
I don't know. I don't know if it came up in an animated series or in some old Legends thing, but this is,
No. I've known they existed, but yeah, first time you've ever seen them in action.
I had no idea they existed. That happened to his suit, and I was just like, oh, cool. But I didn't know
he did that, and I just thought it was like, oh, that's a thing that probably has been there the whole time, and they just never used it.
For sure. Yeah, I still think Mandalorians, what the singing birds or whatever, probably maybe a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, totally agree. That's like actually one of my favorite like weird sci-fi weapons of all time. It's just press the button, tiny missiles hit everybody, and you're fine. It's so good.
It's another Jon Favreau special.
It's a great
It
special.
is.
We get the same thing from Iron Man too.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, Boba back in action. Did he use the flamethrower at any point?
I don't think he actually did. That is one thing they held off on.
I mean, this episode was violent
Mando
enough.
used his flamethrower so much, they're like, oh, we can save this for later, I guess.
Yeah.
Check it out. He's got a flamethrower, but did you know he's got knee darts?
Yeah, I mean, this episode was violent enough as it was without a flamethrower. This may be like, outside of Rogue One, this may be like the most violent Star Wars has ever really felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think with these fight scenes.
Yeah, I like seeing actual damage to the trooper's armor was. It's like, oh, that's right. These people are actually being hurt inside of this.
Yeah.
Ryan. You got Christopher Lee staring at his stumps for arms. I feel like that's pretty brutal.
True.
That's like David Cronenberg body horror stuff. This is
yeah.
Oh man, I want the body horror Star Wars movie desperately now.
Yeah, well, I feel like even in the classic Star Wars, like anytime somebody loses a limb, it's never really struck me. It's just like, oh, now they just don't have a hand anymore.
Yeah, because like anytime someone loses a hand, it's already cauterized. Like there's no real gore.
Yeah.
Yep. There's no blood. And usually you're like, oh, they'll get a
right.
They'll get a robo arm though.
Yeah, everybody's got. She's got a whole robot stomach. This lady in this episode.
Man, what a convenient little spot for Velcro. She's like, yeah, I just show you my robot abs.
Yeah, little robot tummy.
Little reminiscent of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh yeah.
But
so yeah, Boba Fett just takes care of everybody, and then they decide to retreat, but he notices.
Oh no, he's getting away! What's this button here? This long-range missile couldn't possibly, could it? The quarterback is toast.
I hope sometime down the line in the series we get an alternate universe. Breckenmeyer is another Boba Fett.
Oh, that's like what I was thinking.
I would love that.
Because I mean, this entire episode I think feels like this, sketch from Robot Chicken in which Boba Fett comes back from the dead and takes care of all these Ewoks. And it just almost feels like Jon Favreau took inspiration or was having the same kind of dreams as a child as the the boys who were playing the Dungeons and Dragons-esque game.
Yeah.
Seth Green did some punch up on the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I've gone back and I've looked at the last scene, and you're right. He is not wearing the jetpack when he goes to meet Cara Dune.
Yeah.
That's.
Maybe he left it on the ship.
I just can't imagine he just abandoned it there. Like he's got to have.
Yeah, I mean the kind of filmmaker and showrunner Favreau is. I feel like he would have cut to the jetpack on the planet alone and the ship taking off or something to like really let us know that the jetpack was still there.
Something I did notice though was Boba uses the rocket to take out the enemy transports.
Yeah, really cool.
And it's his rocket again. So somewhere between Timmy O's rocket and like maybe Mandalorian had a spare.
It was a different rocket than the Marshal was wearing.
When what's his name? Cobb Vanth. He uses the initial rocket, and then he has a replacement that looks like a makeshift rocket.
Yeah, he's got all these stock ones that are not the same.
I mean, Mando does have an actual armory on his ship, so
it's true, but he doesn't have a rocket on his jetpack.
Yeah.
No,
I'm looking at it right now.
Like it's fitted for a rocket.
Boba's rocket is the exact same one that you would see in Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, maybe Mando just picked up a couple of spares along the way.
I also love the difference between Cobb Vanth in the armor. We got to see him in action, as it were. You know, he's just kind of this gunslinger versus Boba Fett in the armor is just it's a whole different level of he understands how to work with it.
Yeah,
it's like I know how to do it. I also like that when Cobb Vanth was using the rocket, he did the thing that we probably did with the action figures, which is like you bend him over so that he like shoots it forward. But Boba's like, you don't have to do that. This locks onto it. I can just stay standing. It does the work for me.
Well, that's probably the difference between the two rockets, right? Between the rocket that Cobb had in there, and he had to aim that, whereas Boba Fett had like a tracked kind of a specialized thing. But then, yeah, that's a good question. Oh, you know what? They're in the Slave One. He's got extra rockets in the Slave One, guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so bam, there you go.
Answers that.
He's like, I'm gonna need this. I gotta run back to my ship.
Yeah, I mean, he probably parked fairly near, like obviously not too near, but you know, in the vicinity. Once he got his jetpack, he maybe just jetpacked over to the Slave One, grabbed a doodad, and zipped back. A doodad.
That might have been where he grabbed the thermal detonator from too.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's got some stuff in that ship.
And then from the air, Moff Gideon destroys the Razor Crest and then deploys.
Holy crap!
Some dark troopers that retrieve Grogu and take him aboard the Imperial ship.
So, what part of that do we want to talk about first? The destruction of our new favorite ship?
Yeah, let's do that.
The shocking. First of all, totally shocking. Completely surprised.
That's not something they do in Star Wars.
No, it's not.
Characters are less safe than the ships are.
It's very true.
Yeah. Also, watching the Razor Crest get blown up wasn't as emotional but it was almost as emotional as when they smashed the RV in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
It
felt big.
That's a really good comparison.
I genuinely was like, granted, we haven't spent as much time in the Razor Crest, but it's still like, it's always there. It's very much tied to everything that Mando does.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten him out of many pinches.
It's its own character and symbol in the show. I mean, you know, one thing I thought was really funny was like multiple posts I saw on Reddit of like dads who had gotten their sons the Razor Crest Lego set for Christmas, and now the Razor Crest is blown up.
Yeah, that's a thing, because also, are you familiar with the HasLab Razor Crest? Yeah, it's a Hasbro has. I mean, they're working on a Razor Crest right now. They did the Jabba sail barge a few years ago, which is like these giant vehicles that have to have a certain number of backers in order to create.
Oh, I remember the sail barge one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this time it was the Razor Crest, and all the orders were due like 2 weeks ago or so. So of course, as soon as everyone's orders are locked in, this happens.
I mean, people bought plenty of Death Star models after the first trilogy, so I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Enterprise has been blown up multiple times.
Yeah.
That's true. The Razor Crest 7 is up next.
Yeah.
Razor Crest -E.
Yeah. But are people still pining over Queel action figures?
Yeah, I would say so. The pre-orders for the Queel Black series sold out very quickly.
So there you go. I mean, it's got legs. Do you think we won't see a Razor Crest type ship again? You think
I think we'll see something like it.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to get another ship that stays off the radar like the Razor Crest did. That was the whole point, I think, right?
Yeah. He'll get him on Calamari to build one from the ground up for him.
It's just going to be like layers upon layers of fishing net with engines attached to it.
Yeah.
Covered in a cable knit sweater.
Yes.
And this is how we get Amy Sedaris back. She comes in with the pit droids and she's like putting it together with the...
Yeah. So yeah, we get the Dark Troopers, finally showing up and being named, and they're
specifically
flying.
Dark Troopers saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which This is interesting because this is actually really not the first time we've seen this design for almost Dark Trooper-esque things in Star Wars, because in Star Wars Rebels, there were these Imperial sentry droids that the Ghost crew encountered, and they look very much like Dark Troopers and very much like these. So these are, the next step.
They also kind of look like an evolution of the beefier battle droids from the prequels.
That's what I was thinking. They kind of look like those big fellas.
They look in the same family, which is
super battle droids.
Yeah, not like the white skeletal ones, and not the little rolling destroyers. The big beefy darker ones, which were more kind of streamlined all around, less angular than this.
Like if a super battle droid and a Cylon got it on, this would happen.
But that's just really interesting in terms of the design language to me, just because like the Dark Troopers were designed independently of any prequel designs, because they were designed like a couple years earlier, or just like, in a different part of Lucasfilm, whatever, and not really cross-contaminated. And then those battle droids were designed, but just the fact that like Star Wars language is in such a way that those two things kind of look like they could be in the same, like, the same manufacturer of droids. It's a very cool thing.
So then they take poor baby Grogu, and
my God.
Mando does not get there in time. Neither does Boba Fett, because as soon as he sees where they're going, he's like, "No, can't do it, guys."
Well, we had this great. I loved this moment in the show where like Mando tries one last time to get through that barrier and get Grogu out of there, and is rejected. He's like, "Okay, kid, just I'll be right back." And then goes and tries to fight a bit, and like that second,
immediately,
the pillar of light goes away, and Grogu just passes out and has a nap on the rock. And I just really liked that. I don't think there are a lot of moments like that in Star Wars. It's a tropey kind of moment, but I don't think we've had a lot of it in this context, in this universe, and I like seeing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my God, the kidnapping of Grogu.
Yeah, I think it was you, Dustin, that had called this like early in this season.
No, that was actually Jermaine.
Was it Jermaine?
Jermaine called the kidnapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, of Grogu getting abducted.
Yeah,
he nailed it.
It was right on. It was like, oh, okay. And as soon as Mandalorian left him for the last time, I was like, oh no, that's what's coming, right?
Yeah. Which is weird, because that absolutely seems like a big season-ending cliffhanger too.
It does.
But there's like, nope, we're gonna do this, and we still got 2 episodes left?
Yeah. Like, so that happens.
Yeah.
And everyone's just left in shock.
Then everyone is just sad.
Out the gape. Yeah. So then they have a nice little convo between Mando and Boba Fett and Fennec Shan, where Fett, he claims the armor, and he states that it belonged to his father, who was a foundling, which is this is new information.
This is brand new,
because based on the Clone Wars actually, in canon denounced Jango Fett as a Mandalorian when on the planet of Mandalore, Obi-Wan approached Prime Minister Almec about it.
I recently encountered a man who wore Mandalorian armor, Jango Fett.
Jango Fett was a common bounty hunter. How he acquired that armor is beyond me.
We don't really get any more info other than that. So for the longest time, it's been that Jango and Boba were actually not Mandalorians, but used the armor. And thanks to the new rules being set up in this show, they can reclaim that right to a degree.
Yeah. Well, so too, so I know a few episodes ago with Bo-Katan, they mentioned, what was it, the Child of the Watch or whatever, that thing?
Yeah.
Like, how close to mainstream Mandalore is that? Or is that its own thing, and that Boba might be Jango might be a foundling from that order?
Yes. We do not know. We can assume so based on that kind of wording.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it, but I didn't know the Clone Wars backstory to that.
Yeah, that's the other thing is for like a lot of people, like this wasn't even an issue. So
right. Yeah, one thing with that fart, I don't remember. Move on.
I think it's really interesting how they've taken everything that we know about, everything that's been built about Mandalorians, everything we know, everything that people have kind of speculated, and like really started to wrap it into this nice bow that fits the timeline well and explains where everybody fits in.
Yeah.
And it's been very satisfying so far of like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's all it's really interesting because it's all, we're getting all of that stuff through basically Mando's side quests. Like the show is his show, we're following him, but just the things he learns happen to be filling in a bunch of gaps for us. And just the way that story is being told, they're continuing to do it just really, really well. It's kind of baffling.
Another thing that the Clone Wars calls into question is really the fate of Jango's armor, which we always assumed it was his armor that Boba Fett just kind of like turned into his own, which is what they're stating here. But I don't know if you remember this, Alex. There's an episode of the Clone Wars. I've got an image for that, in which young Boba Fett is he's chasing down Mace Windu, and he uses his dad Jango's helmet as a bomb. And an attempted assassination. So Jango's helmet is destroyed. It's very weird that they did that. And I feel like that's something they kind of wish they didn't do because I don't know what the
and also like the armor itself is so radically altered from what we saw Jango's armor being. So. Like Jango's armor looks surprisingly similar to like a cross between like Bo-Katan's armor and Mando's armor. And Boba Fett's armor looks like he took it to like a sweet custom shop run by a guy named Greg, who is a little bit unlicensed but like does a sick job, bro. You know what I mean?
That was way too specific.
And then there was another episode of the Clone Wars they never finished. This is one they never actually did end up doing, but it was going to tell more of the story of young Boba Fett, in which how he actually got the armor and had it painted that way, and he has a showdown with Cad Bane, in which they shoot each other at the same time. The animatic is up on YouTube. You can watch it. And they tell the story about how Boba Fett got the dent in his helmet. As you have to do in all the prequel stories.
Right. That's silly. The story of Boba Fett's helmet dent.
Yeah.
A Star Wars story.
But as of right now, that's still a mystery. We could still find out what happened.
Yeah.
That's true.
I can't think of a more prominent dent in anything off the top of my head. I mean, it's kind of that. Maybe Iron Man, the Iron Giant's dent. That might be.
Let's get a graphic novel about the Iron Giant's dent.
Yes.
The Boba Fett fan website I remember it's called the Dented Helmet.
Oh, that's funny. That's pretty good.
So Boba Fett and Fennec Shand say that they're in Mando's debt. They owe him a Wookiee life debt because they said that if he gave him the armor back, that he would make sure that the child was safe, which he currently is not. So now we've got a team being put together right now.
Yep.
So they go back to Navarro and meet up with another member of the team, Cara Dune, and they tell her, "Hey, we need to track down Bill Burr because
And she's like,
We need
no.
a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm legit now.
Wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass.
She's like, no, I'm legit now. And he's like, they took the child. She says, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
She takes off her badge and throws it across the room.
Basically, yeah.
She's putting a team together like some kind of Suicide Squad.
Now, I mean, we knew from the first season, you know, like you meet people along the way, and then eventually you kind of build this team for the final episode. And I expected that to ring true for this, but I don't think I ever expected like the team towards the end of the season to be Boba Fett and Fennec Shen and like maybe Timmy O
and Bill
maybe,
Burr.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Bill Burr is coming
Mayfeld
back.
coming back.
I knew Bill Burr was coming back in the season. I did not assume he'd be part of the team.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we still
I
don't
guess
know if
we
that's
don't
going to
know
be
that,
true.
yeah.
True,
so.
true.
Yeah. But I do think what we're setting up for here is the Guardians of the Galaxy type setup where Bill Burr and that crew ride off at the end of the day with Boba Fett. And
Yeah,
we
like a
get,
Suicide Squad.
Like
a Suicide Squad. Yeah, but like they
Specifically a Suicide Squad.
Yes. But I realized, I was like, I think that's where we're going. Like those will be the troublemakers in seasons to come that like show up. We don't know what they want, but that'll be Boba's new crew.
And plot twist: Bill Burr doesn't come back for season 3. They recast him with Will Smith.
Oh no! But we don't know which James Gunn team it's going to be. If it's the Suicide Squad or the Guardians.
It's got to be one of them.
Let's say on a long enough timeline, Batista's going to end up in a Star Wars. So.
Oh, I
It's
do
kind
not
of shocking
doubt
that he hasn't showed up already. Actually,
Oh, you give it one or two more new properties, and I guarantee he will.
Yeah.
And then we actually get the worst scene of this episode coming up.
Yeah. Aboard the Imperial Light Cruiser, Moff Gideon gets his own little scene with Grogu, in which he's going crazy with some stormtroopers. And
he's like force choking stormtroopers and just tossing them around the room. It's kind of horrifying.
Yeah, it's horrifying. I still chuckled a little, but
me too.
It definitely, it's like, it makes me skeptical about what his fate is going to be come the end of the series.
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
So, I mean, I think I've said this multiple times, but yeah, there's nothing that says that Baby Yoda is supposed to be a Jedi.
No.
Like even Ahsoka has kind of laid out that she doesn't know that it's a good idea to train him, and like
based on this, maybe we agree.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
train one kid who is sad about his parents. He kills almost all your order, and you assume the worst the next time that situation rolls around. Come on.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ryan.
No, I mean, I think that's it. Like, I'm really not sure where they're going with Moff Gideon. Like,
yeah,
he could still be anybody, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say we've not yet seen that he is force capable yet, correct? Just that he has the dark saber.
Yes.
Right. Correct, yeah.
So at least knowing that much, I don't know that I'd be leaning in that close to somebody with that in front of my face. Like, yeah, sure, he looks tired, but
sure he looks tired.
Yeah,
but he's made short work of your stormtroopers.
He took a measured risk, and then precious little Grogu just like reaching out like he wants to touch the dark saber.
Oh yeah, like backs off the last second. He's like, nope. I was like, oh, you scamp.
Yeah, I love Giancarlo Esposito's just acting in this scene. He gets to do stuff that we don't get to see him do. He's always so, I mean, evil, but very measured, and he doesn't let this side of him ever really come out.
No, he's never really playful. Yeah,
he's very, very playfully menacing.
Yeah, really like that. And then, like, maybe probably the saddest moment in all of the Mandalorian is Baby Yoda gets stunned.
It's tased.
Yeah.
The seldom seen stun setting on the stormtrooper weapons.
Yeah, literally. At least once that I can remember.
Right, like,
that we've seen
do we
it.
remember, were there other stunnings aside from Leia at the very beginning of A New Hope?
I mean, I feel it happens a lot in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
sure.
But
But as far as live action stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't.
But yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, literally, that the only time I could remember was in New Hope when the trooper shoots her in the back with the stunner.
And then they put him in the tiniest, cutest shackles there have ever been.
Baby shackles.
They had him ready.
Which they must
have
have had
baby
fabricated.
shackles.
Like, are they like? Because I think they also, I saw this pointed out, I think in the Screen Crush like Easter eggs video about this episode. But did it seem like the interior of the bracers had like a little whatever that energy field that Obi-Wan was being held in episode 2 that was restraining his Force abilities?
Yeah.
It would certainly make sense too.
So they like
this.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish yours first.
Just like they must have constructed these little shackles specially for this moment. Like Gideon's like, we will cuff this creature, and I need them to be of this specification.
Real tiny. Yeah, that's just the saddest short story right there. For sale, baby shackles, never worn.
That's true.
Yes.
Another little interesting thing in this scene is, as soon as Grogu is done with the stormtroopers, he's all out of breath, and he says something that a lot of people think is Sith Lord.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That could be, people reading into it and hearing what they want to hear, but he's definitely saying something. You just don't know what it is.
Is it subtitled?
No.
Ah.
Yeah.
I could see that going either way. I could absolutely see it. People being like, no, that's definitely what he said, just because they heard a syllable or whatever. Yeah. I didn't think anything of it. I just assumed it was just tired Baby Yoda talk.
Yeah, I guess I thought the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then the episode ends, and we're left wondering what's going to happen to everybody's favorite baby.
The tragedy.
And I don't know if we're going to necessarily find that out next week. I think next week is going to be a setup for the team. I think it's going to be mostly another heist episode, because next week is Rick Famuyiwa's episode.
Ooh.
The only episode written by somebody other than Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, which is Rick Famuyiwa.
Oh, so he wrote and directed his episode.
Mm-hmm, yep. And he wrote and directed The Prisoner last season, which, so I think we're going to get something very similar.
Nice.
Yep. I hope the episode is just titled The One Where He Recruits His Suicide Squad.
Do we know? Did we get an answer to why it was Mayfield that they're looking for?
No, we don't get that. I mean, I just assume it's because he's ex-Imperial.
So is Fennec Shen, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know he was a sharpshooter. Did they say something about him being a tracker last season, or am I making that up? I felt like that was part of this characterization.
I don't know. Maybe they'll put the Zero Droid back together too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
I mean, we know he kind of works.
Yeah.
Oh well, hang on though. We don't have the Razor Crest.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, right.
So I think Zero's really dead this time.
And we also
unless Boba stole him out of the ship too. He's like, ah, man, I might make use of this. Actually, I need to go get my rockets too. I'm just gonna take it.
Or that creepy guy on Navarro who gave the imps the old info. Took him while he was fixing up the Razor Crest. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Also, should mention that the one piece of anything that Mando rescues two things from the wreckage of the Razor Crest. One of them is Grogu's favorite tiny ball that goes on the gear shift that no longer exists, and the Beskar staff.
Yes.
So that's still around, and we'll be kicking someone's butt real hard soon, I think.
Yeah. So it's probably safe to assume his rifle is gone now too, which I'm real sad because I thought we were going to get more of that.
I like the rifle a lot.
It's pretty sweet.
Again, today for Mando Mondays, they announced the Nerf gun of that rifle.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If it doesn't vaporize people, who cares?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Oh boy. What a Star War.
Yeah. So that is
a fun ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 14, The Tragedy.
Way to go. This was, just inspired choice and director on this one. Like, Rodriguez, like, really rose to the occasion. And, like, I didn't see Machete in Space. It didn't seem good. I haven't heard good things. Alita Battle Angel was like, it's fine. Like, it's not bad. Christoph Waltz is super weird in it. So, like, worth watching for that at least. But, like, the action in it was nowhere near as cool in the action as the action in this episode of this TV show.
Yeah, and Rodriguez wasn't even the first choice for this episode. He was a replacement at the last minute.
Really?
I've been hearing that, and he confirms it, but they do not say who the other director was supposed to be.
Spielberg.
Maybe. Brian Johnson.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's especially impressive considering, he definitely didn't have as much prep time as, like, say, Filoni or Rick have had on their episodes, or Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah. No, I really feel like each episode has increased the intensity and the quality. Like they're all, like, it started at a really high point and just has continued to go up. I don't feel like there's been a really weak episode this season at all.
No, I agree.
It's
super strong.
It's been crazy all the way through.
Yeah, and it really hasn't taken its foot off the pedal either. Like we've really still been on the same objective of get Baby Yoda to somebody, to Jedi of some kind.
Right. So. Yeah. Unless anybody has anything more about this episode of Mandalorian, we forgot to mention a thing in Star Wars land last week, which is the passing of Mr. David Prowse.
That's right.
Super bummer.
Very sad.
He was a wonderfully imposing figure in that suit. The physicality of Darth Vader was him, and the physicality of Darth Vader was fantastic. He was never properly paid for Star Wars, which you can read his speaking about just due to Hollywood accounting. He's like he never got residuals for like Return of the Jedi or any of the movies.
Yeah, he got on the bad end of Lucasfilm too, based on his experiences and
for a little personal story, the first time I ever went to a comic book convention was 1997 in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Comic-Con, that my mom only found out about because David Prowse was there. And I was 11 and far too afraid to meet the man behind Darth Vader, so I did not. But I did look at him in the convention hall. But David Prowse specifically was probably the reason I went to my very first Comic-Con when I was a kid. So, like, that was a cool thing. And, bummer that he is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, he would always sign all of his autographs. David Prowse is Darth Vader. So,
and you know what? James Earl Jones agreed. So,
yeah,
that's why
Hayden
James
Christensen agreed. When Hayden put the armor on, you can just tell.
Oh, I know.
It does not fill out.
I know. They should have. I mean, did the Chris Hemsworth or the Chris Evans like Avengers workout not exist yet? When they were making Revenge of the Sith, could we not get Hayden on that personal trainer schedule back in 2003 or whatever?
Nope.
No. But
So rest in peace, Dave Prowse. And I think we can go ahead and announce along with covering chapter 15 next week, we are also going to be doing another little special show in which we cover the Star Wars holiday special. Everyone's been asking for it. I'm like, forget this Mandalorian stuff. We want to know more
how
about
to light the sky on fire.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's what we want to know.
For it.
What about this Life Day?
Let's dissect Life Day and all of the bantha rump stew that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Travis, we're talking about both the original 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special and probably a bit about the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll talk mostly about the original, I think, and then also we'll dabble into the Lego one.
I'll make some notes about the Lego one, because there were some parts of the Lego one that I really, really loved, and a lot of it that I just thought was whatever.
There's some deep cuts, for sure.
There are some deep cuts. Some really good jokes. Chewbacca's family is in it again for some reason, and they haven't aged for some reason. But
because they have those long lifespans. It's been very small for them.
Yeah, but is Lumpy... whatever. Yeah, sure. No, I buy it. Great. I don't care. Because they used the same sound effects for the family that they did in 1978. So... But I'll probably rewatch the Lego special and make notes. But I can tell you guys right now, I have seen that original Star Wars Holiday Special so many times, I do not need to rewatch to know exactly what we're talking about.
But if you haven't watched it, you can find the entire thing on YouTube and watch ahead of our conversation about it, because, man, it's an experience.
There's a few ways. You could also watch it along with the riff tracks available at rifftracks.com.
That's my preferred way of watching it. Also, highly recommend whichever version you watch it. It has commercials.
Yes, commercials are super worth it.
They make half the experience.
Yeah. From a time when auto unions were very strong.
That's right. Oh, we'll get into that.
Oh no.
Like the dignity of blue-collar labor theme is large in the commercial breaks of the Star Wars Holiday Special in 1978. It's pretty great. So that'll be Thursday the 17th that we do that show.
Mm-hmm.
So Mando Minute next Monday the 14th, and then Mandalorian Minute Holiday Special, or whatever we're going to call it, I don't know, that following Thursday the 17th, and I'm excited.
And then the finale of The Mandalorian will be the following week, in which I also got confirmation. I think we are going to be having Jermaine back for the finale.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
So, all those exciting things coming up. And so, in the meantime, Alex, where can people find more of your work?
Instagram and Twitter at Alex Brunel.
And Dustin, how about you?
You can check me out at DustinMeadowsComedy.com and on Twitter and Instagram at Dustin Meadows.
All right. And Ryan, how about you?
You can find me at Harbjagen, that's HARBJAGEN, on Twitter.
All right. And you can find this show every week on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where we stream every single week. Find us on all of the podcasting apps. Please subscribe, leave us reviews. Love and appreciate them all. Interact with us. Send emails to whowatchespodcast@gmail.com. And so until next week, initiate self-destruct sequencing.